Hello and welcome to The Villain Was Right, the podcast where we look at movies and TV shows from the villain's perspective and dare to ask, were they really all that bad? I'm your host, Rebecca Reeds.
And I'm your host, Craig Fay.
And this week we are talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And we are joined by, honestly, a podcast favorite, a #1 guest, and a self-proclaimed sweatiest lip in the East End, upper lip in the East End. We are joined by Isabel Zawtun. What's up, girl?
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming back. You are a fan favorite.
That's gonna change. Sure.
Keep them guessing, Isabel.
Just keep them guessing.
Never let them settle
I'm
on
back
you.
to critique the most beloved film.
No, I love that. Just bring in the heat. No, I love an opposite opinion, and I love when we disagree, because that is, well, that's just fun podcasting right there. So when did you see this movie?
I saw this movie. Let's say a month ago.
Okay.
I'd say I've been stewing on this for a month.
Ooh, brewing, just getting steamy about it. And Craig,
I think I saw it last week
Yes.
or 2 weeks ago, maybe. Now,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. We've moved this around a few times. But
Very true.
I loved it. It was honestly some of the most fun I've had in the theater for a long time. Looked incredible.
it is visually
I
stunning.
had a really fun time, and I identified with some of the villains in this. I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna get to that in a second. But
Yes, and Isabel, your feelings are.
I guess. Okay, let's frame it this way. I was confused by the reaction of others around me. So I almost feel like I'm here so that you can explain to me why anyone would think the villain was wrong.
Well,
Because
yes, okay.
I just genuinely can't see the other side of this.
okay, interesting.
And that bodes well for us. Absolutely.
Look at us, subject matter experts. Like Isabel watched a movie and was like, feel like someone needs to explain this. Calling us up, see if she can be a guest.
But I also feel like, and this holds true for a lot of movies, and it's just a personal theory, so if you disagree, feel free. But I think a lot of villains are unintentionally autistic coded.
Ooh.
Oh.
And so I think that, I just bumped my microphone. I'm glad we got that on camera. So I think as someone who, to be totally transparent, no official diagnosis, my doctor told me they think I have autism. I then went to my mother and was like, my doctor told me this, isn't it crazy? And she went, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Which to me, that feels like more of an official diagnosis than anyone could ever give me. So I don't want to be claiming an identity I don't have. I want to be transparent about that, but also this didn't come from TikTok. It came from a medical professional.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, you're like 80% of the way there.
They're like, listen, I went to medical school, and as such, I think you're weird.
Yeah, you're not
Doctor told you.
you're not officially neurodivergent. You're just what we call medically weird.
Also, you can't get an official diagnosis once you're no longer a child.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they can ask you the questions or whatever, and they can be like, it seems like it. So again, I don't want to know stolen valor or whatever. But oftentimes when I've identified with a villain, it's because they're making a choice that seems more grounded in logic and less than emotion. And I'm like, yeah, but that makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And then everyone is like looking at me kind of weird, where they're like, we don't understand why you're having this reaction. I'm like, I don't understand why you're having your reaction. So, and I can count on you guys, because your last episode, you critiqued trains. So that's probably the least autistic thing I've ever heard in my life.
We just dunking on trains. Fucking trains.
That hurts my feelings.
Hurts my feelings.
Like getting riled up, thinking that anyone could have that opinion. You know? So I'm gonna trust in your normalcy for this one here.
Well, we're going to get into the villains of this and dunk on trains more, apparently, because of course we have to.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Not on Isabel's one. Are you serious?
I'll walk out.
But
It's the first walkout we ever have. It's about trains.
But first, if you have not seen Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, it is, of course, the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Yes, it is the most confusing naming scheme ever. That's fine. Basically, it picks up where the other one left off, where Miles Morales is in Brooklyn, and he's grown up a little, and he's still having some family issues, trying to balance being Spider-Man and being a student and all the rest. You know, Spider-Man. And having some trouble with his family. We actually open on Gwen Stacy from the original, and we find out that she's having a hard time. Her father is hunting her in her Spider-Verse, and is like, I'm gonna get Spider-Woman, I guess she's called. Yeah, because she wouldn't be Spider-Gwen anyway. So
Spider-Woman or Spider-Girl?
it's like, I think she's officially called Spider-Gwen, but like that gives away her secret identity. So that's definitely not what people call her.
Yeah.
In the thing.
But like in universe, is it?
I think it's Spider-Woman.
Okay.
Is it Spider-Woman?
It's saying Spider-Woman on the wiki,
Oh, okay.
so I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Yet another way that Marvel doesn't know how old teenage girls are.
Anyway, so she's having some problem. Her father finds out that she is Spider-Woman. He's going to arrest her. She gets saved by these like trans-dimensional spider people. She goes and joins up with them. And then she is then sent back to like Miles Morales's Earth to like do some shady things. To track Spot, who is a guy who can basically create portals that are on himself, and he can travel through them and all the rest. And he has said that Miles Morales is his arch nemesis because they both created each other, and Miles doesn't know that he exists. It's kind of funny. And basically what happens is Spot gets away, and they go chase him, and Miles jumps through the portal with Gwen, and they go to another dimension where Miles saves a police chief that is supposed, quote unquote, supposed to die, and it causes a rift, and the universe starts to fall apart, and we meet Miguel. Sorry, we've met Miguel before this. Spider-Man 2099, I believe, is his Spider-Man name. Thank God they don't call each other Spider-Man here. And his whole thing is like, we've recruited all these spider people, and they go and they try and repair the rift that Miles created by being bit by a wrong spider from the wrong dimension in the first movie. And basically the universes destroy themselves if the spider people in each of the universes don't hit what they call canon moments, which are the important things in their lives that turn them into who they are. We find out Miguel has witnessed this with his family and the whole universe being destroyed. So basically it comes down to Miles discovering this, him wanting to save who will die in his universe, which is his father, the police captain. And they kind of chase him around Spider Thing, and it ends with him ending up in the wrong universe. He ends up in the universe that his spider was from, and Gwen and some of the other spider people are going to save them, and there's going to be a showdown in the following movie. I think I caught it all, right?
Yes, yes. You got all the main points.
And Spider-Punk / Hobby is in there too.
Yeah, I was going to say, for a movie in which unquestionably the breakout star of this movie is a punk character, this is probably the most pro-cop movie I've seen in recent history. I just feel like it's a gaping plot hole that Gwen Stacy, the pristine ballet dancing daughter of a cop, stayed over at Hobie's house and does not have a staph infection. I don't know if anyone here has seen or been in a punk house. Also, the fact that at the end of the movie, she has a huge speech where she tells her dad that he's a good cop, which all of the evidence of the movie points directly to the contrary. That has got to be conclusive proof that she and Hobie never fucked.
Yeah.
Like that.
I think
everyone is like, it's a love triangle. Are you kidding me? You're telling me she had a relationship with a British punk and then went back to her universe and was like, Dad, the spider universe is my badge. I'm like a cop, and cops are great.
To be fair,
My
she was on the
universe is-
outs with her father and her whole universe at that point. So, you know, that kind of as a little rebellious moment, I get that.
I don't like the optics of that.
Yeah,
I don't like the optics of that.
What, going and sleeping with Spider-Punk?
Yeah, that he was just like, she was like, Daddy, I hate you. I'm gonna stay with this, you know.
I mean, it does track. It does
It feels
kind of track.
realistic, yeah.
Yes.
I will say that part of what I didn't like about the movie was I found Gwen Stacy's character really disappointing. And it's funny because I saw this with my 11-year-old daughter, and afterwards we were talking about it, and she was like, I feel like they took away her personality.
Oh.
Like, I feel like, and I mean, I think they gave her one, which is she's the biggest pick-me I've seen on film in recent history. Every time she interacts with a woman, she's like, shut up. And every time she interacts with a man, she's like, you've shown me how beautiful the world is.
That's so funny. I have not clocked that. Although, to be fair, I watched this once in a theater. I am going to be looking for this. That's so funny.
Yeah. The only female character she interacts with in a way that I would describe more as neutral than positive is the pregnant Spider Woman. And it's after she's been like rejected by Miguel, after she's been like, he won't talk to me. So then she talks to the Spider Woman, but it's clearly to get something, where she's like, I want in on this spider thing. So
Yes.
you could claim it as an exception, but I'm going to overrule that.
All right. Spicy. I love it. Oh my God. Yeah, she is maybe a bit of a. Well, I mean, I used to be a bit of a pick-me myself, so.
I mean, we all did, and she is at the age. But I think also a lot of it is attributed to the fact that this is a movie written by 3 guys. So every female character is like reactive, defined by her relationship to a man. And a third thing that would make this list punchier.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I can totally see what you're saying. Shit. Well, you know, the colors were nice.
Well, like, I think as a short film, Gwen's bit at the beginning
I really
was
like
super
that.
strong. If the movie had ended there, I would have been like, bravo.
Yeah, and like and contrary to you, I feel like that did fill out her character a lot more, like especially from the first movie, because like I don't think in the first movie you really get a sense of who Gwen is or where she's necessarily come from.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because she just kind of shows up in Miles's universe and is like, my issue right now is how do we get everyone back to where they were before, and like. And I did also think that worked with the themes of the movie, where they go like every single person in this has some sort of tragedy that like that's what defines them. And like hers is like, oh, like I had to kill my best friend Peter Parker, who is Reptile in that universe, and like her father's out to get her. So it's like I felt like that set up some backstory on her pretty well. I really like that opening scene.
Oh, the opening scene. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the opening scene. The thing that kind of throws me off with her is that is this concept of like, oh, well, I've never been by because I'm not allowed, but now I've decided I'm going to come by your universe and see you and break all the rules out of nowhere.
Oh, no, she was sent there
Yeah,
to get Spot.
but she doesn't have to go see him.
Yeah, no, that's true. She did break the rules.
So this is another one of my points. I wish I had more conclusive notes because I'm jumping all over time-wise, but
Oh, no, that's fine.
one of the issues in this movie that I think is an issue kind of very broadly, and to quote that Onion headline that's evergreen, sometimes the worst person you know makes a great point. Dave Chappelle once famously said, we have to figure out how old 15 is.
Yeah.
So Miles Morales is 14, Gwen is, I'm guessing she's not so much older than her that we would have legal problems. So she's probably around 15, 16.
That was
Yeah.
my thought, yeah.
And then we have a bunch of adults that are presented with this problem where they're like, if Miles finds out about this spider thing happening, then it could cause, no exaggeration, millions of people to die. So should we send someone who has a personal connection with him to his universe, or should we pick
The
from
child.
literally a million other spider people who are also adults?
Yes.
They're
Send
like-
Spider Pig back, you
But-
know?
Yeah.
He's in
It's a
therapy
little
for
frustrating
cosplay.
because and he cheated on his wife, and
Yeah,
then he
that's
got
a whole.
pregnant.
It's like,
and-
yeah, what do you don't want?
yeah,
Spider
he's got a
pigs.
whole bunch of. He's got a piglet now. He's so cute on Instagram. So cute on Instagram.
But yeah, I agree. Like, don't send the kid. That's poor
Yeah.
judgment on. I don't even think that's necessarily even coming from Miguel. Like
It seems
that
like it comes from the the pregnant Spider-Woman, but I could be incorrect as well.
Yeah, we don't know who gave the marching orders.
So it's hard to be like, I dislike Gwen for this because she's a child. But also the way she's written is really confusing because it's like they want to throw in this kind of adult relationship dynamic where they have this banter where they're like, you slept over at his house, whatever. And it's like, she's 15.
Yeah.
I know she has problems at home. Okay. I know
he
she
is
doesn't
also
have.
not 50.
I know she doesn't have a great
Hobby.
support system. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe England is like France with the statute of limitation, not the age of consent. You know.
Yeah, that is funny. When I was watching that, I was like, that is a little dark. I was like, I feel like I'm having like a trauma flashback right now. Like, I'm getting triggered right now. What the hell is happening here?
Are you
young
telling
teenage
me?
girl falls out with her dad and then shacks up with a much older punk.
Turns out the Spider Women have very different traumas that lead them to me. Your dad is fine. You've piled on a couple more that you're gonna have to do.
No, you've already reached all your trauma quota. Actually, we looked at the charts. You're actually done.
Refund her
This
an
is
uncle.
the first time this has actually happened. I don't know.
You deserve a couple Uncle Bens.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're gonna bring back some of your other family members that you lost. Actually,
Uncle Ben comes back to life and gets gay married to another Uncle Ben.
You. Everyone's-
Miguel's like, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is how the universe balances out.
oh my God.
I do really quick. I want to talk for a bit about one of the, because I think there's two major villains here, like that the movie considered. I think Spot, the Spot,
Obviously, yes.
and also Miguel.
Yes,
I think
of
are the two
course.
big ones. I want to start with Spot because, like,
I'm gonna remove my rings.
This fucking Mike's out here trying to catch hands. Trying to catch hands with me.
Isabel is looking like she's gonna get into it. She's taking her earrings off. She's taking off her rings. She's like,
I'm like, how old is that guy trying to
go
date that 15-year-old girl?
Motherfucker.
I'll show you punk. But so Spot, I have been on a run lately where I am absolutely identifying with the villains for the wrong reasons in movies. And Spot
I
is
just watched Pearl. I cried.
yeah,
I understand.
Spot is one of those guys because first of all, to have your superpower be one where you can accidentally kick yourself in your own ass into yourself is a horror to me. I like if you were like you're Spider-Man, you swing at heights, there's a chance that you might fall to your death. I'd be like, great. If you told me there is a chance that you can use your own foot to go through a portal, kick yourself in the butt through another portal, and end up inside yourself, I would be like, stop it. This is off. This is like eyelids being flipped inside out times 1,000. It bothers me so much.
I feel like I'm like ready to jump in. I'm like
Right.
so eager. Okay.
Yeah.
This is another reason why I was disappointed in the portrayal of gender dynamics because someone's suddenly losing all body autonomy.
Oh,
How
yeah.
could you not how could you not make any statement about that? How could that completely flew over everyone's heads? Suddenly you have a character who has just lost the power to control their own body. And this came out in 2023 and you're not going to make any connection, any statement. You're not like all of the gender politics of this movie
Yeah.
are just like women are either a mom who goes miles or a girl who goes, you've shown me that anything is possible. Disappointing.
Yes.
Also, while we're on the writer's blind spots. Oh no, I shouldn't jump around.
The only thing that I really wanted to say about Spot is something. It seems like the big difference between who gains powers and becomes a hero or a villain. You become a hero if you still look like a human being. And the second you don't look like everybody else, they're like, you're a villain.
Yeah.
Sorry about it. And that's and that is just consistent with, I would say, most villains.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you're not allowed to, like, it's almost like, well, yeah, society is obviously going to completely reject your ass. You've lost your family, like everything. Like, he goes on about how he's lost like literally everything.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, of course you're going to be fucking pissed.
Yeah. And
Spider-Man would be the same thing if he looked like a fucking spider.
True.
He'd be a villain.
Yes.
If he was just a big spider crawling around, they'd be like, that's a fucking villain right there. That 8-eye. Like,
And here is Spot's story from the Spot's perspective, right? He is working in a physics lab, a giant particle accelerator. He's an educated man. He's probably got a PhD or working towards one, anything like this. He's working on a particle physics problem. Pretty mundane. And then Spider-Man shows up, blows the place up, disfigures him horribly, makes him have like basically pores all over, like portals all over his body, gives him one of the worst superpowers I can imagine, as we've already covered. And then, like as you said, loses his job, loses his family. Like no, he can't even wear clothes consistently because they like teleport off of him.
Yeah.
So like he's just like out here literally naked in the world. And then the guy who did it to you doesn't even know who you are. He's just like, what do you mean you don't know that you did this to me?
Yeah.
You swung into my... If you were working in a laboratory, right? You're like, your microscope's there, you got your beakers, things like that, you know, your nice little white pressed lab coat, and a guy comes in and he starts yelling like, Spider-Man, interdimensional portals, blah, 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 and throwing fucking jars of acid around. Who's the villain in that scenario? It's Spider-Man. Okay?
History is written by the victors.
Like I feel right showing up to your work and being like, hey buddy, you ruined my life.
Yeah.
We're gonna throw down here. You know, and then to be like mocked on top of that by like, who are you? Who are you? You're not like a
Cool
real
teen.
I mean that's my greatest
And
fear
you're
right
already
there.
a scientist?
I am a scientist. Respect me. Respect my choices.
and in skateboards, cool teen. To be like, I'm going to send you to jail. Also, as we can see from the first scene, he's kind of a reluctant villain. At that point, he's like, this is the only... It's like if you got a
He's like ripping off ATMs,
it's
right?
like if you got a superpower where like your hands were turned into guns, and you're like, I guess I'm gun hands now. Like I can't keep working as an accountant. I can't type. Like,
Can this be used for good?
yeah,
It can't.
they're just like, oh yeah, that's just C4 guy. Like,
Yeah, he blows up. And the other thing, the only other thing I want to touch on this, is the only thing that you could really say that he has done that is evil up until the point of his transformation, and then I even think like trying to go dimension to dimension and gain more power isn't necessarily an evil thing because he doesn't know what any of the consequences are, and no one's explained it to him.
If you played that montage with some inspirational it would look like a training montage.
Yes,
it would. Yes, it would.
Yeah,
And we'd be like, yeah, go Spot.
Go
Like,
Spot. Absorb the energies of all these things.
Yes.
But the only other thing you could really say he's done that is wrong before this is the fact that he is working for Kingpin, who is the villain of the first movie, right?
But by that logic, aren't we all a little
Thank you.
guilty?
Thank you.
Like I'm not gonna go down to the Nestle factory and start throwing jars of acid at the people on the factory floor.
Right?
You know?
Great point.
Yeah. It's like, and I'm sorry, like it doesn't matter who you work for. There's like, how did Kingpin get the money for a giant particle accelerator in the middle of Manhattan? The same way all large of sums of money are gotten, evil. Like that's, it's not whether or not you're working for somebody evil. It's how far removed are you from that evil, right?
And he might have even gone into it. I mean, obviously he didn't know it was like this is so we can get Kingpin's wife and son from
Even
the
that.
dimension. He didn't know. I mean, even if he did, maybe he was like, oh, family, that's nice. But
Yeah, I would work for that.
Yeah,
Hey,
but, like-
we're gonna do particle physics to get his family back.
yeah,
Sure.
As far as we know, he was like the outcomes of this. Maybe he knew Kingpin wasn't great, but he was like, we're doing science for a greater good. We're trying to improve
sure.
mankind.
And in that sense, Kingpin's plot line is almost the exact same as Miguel's.
Yeah.
because he just wanted to go to a different universe and hang out with his family.
Yeah,
Like, that's the whole thing.
And the difference is that Miguel, okay, in my opinion, Miguel chose the selfless route.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to make sure this never happens to anyone ever again. And Kingpin chose the selfish one, where he was like, I don't care.
Absolutely.
And universes I step on.
Or he chose a selfish route until he was blown up and killed by Spider-Man.
Yes.
He didn't really get a chance to be like, let's try a different path.
I mean, in all fairness, I feel like there were a lot of people yelling at him, like, you're going to explode the world. And then he was just like, I don't care.
I also would love to just really, really quickly circle back to, because you reminded me about the ATM scene.
Yeah.
Because I was dying laughing the whole time. Because firstly, it's like one of those things where, because this is the first thing we see him do that's kind of, like, that's bad. Okay, he's going to steal. But the amount of damage that Spider-Man causes... It would have been 100 ATMs. So like sometimes it really reminded me of that scene in The Other Guys where they're chasing the guys down and they're like they had like a half an ounce of weed on them or something like that, and it was just like it was only
Car
like
jumping.
$2.6 million worth of damage, but we got them because New York City's the best. It's like, and that's all I kept thinking while I was watching that scene. Is it's just like the damage you're doing cannot be worth catching this guy.
Well, that was like
just let him take the fucking ATM.
It was like in The Incredibles where superheroes are banned because they're like the amount of damage that you people cause far outweighs any good that you do.
Yeah.
That's all I was thinking while I was watching that scene. I was like, oh yeah, this kid's on a tear.
I also feel like as a superhero, you need to make a decision on what scale of crime you operate at.
Absolutely.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man stopping you from knocking off bodegas, all the rest. Hey, great. But then you can also be like, Spider-Verse, all of existence can be wiped out by my things, right? Like, you gotta pick.
You have to pick.
You gotta pick a level.
And when he goes to the universe where there is no Spider-Man and it's like hell land, the universe where we find out the black version of an evil curly goatee is braids.
Oh, okay. Yes,
right?
yes, that's true. Yeah. We forgot to mention he meets himself at the end.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he meets his evil self, and
that's right.
And the character designers were like, how do we signify to the audience that this guy's evil? And they were like, braids.
Because we're like, oh, right, he's also 15, and having him grow a mustache is not realistic. He just shows up, and it's evil Miles, and he's just got like
that
thinnest,
shitty little.
It's a goatee.
That would have been funnier and also less racist.
Yeah, true.
Like I hadn't even really clued in to this until I was talking to a friend of mine, Yatua, also a very funny comic, a black man who was like, this was a little upsetting, where they were like, this is how we know that you're evil.
Right.
And I was like, that hadn't even occurred to me.
It had not occurred to me either.
Like, there are probably other ways they could have done that. I don't know.
I mean, the fact that he had the Prowler claw and was punching good Miles is also probably a pretty good sign that he was able.
Was enough.
Like,
you're making
right. They could have had the same hairstyle and could have had his hair shaved. I don't know.
A little name tag: A universe, B universe.
I will say, after watching this movie, I know that the Clone High guys are white.
Yeah, Lord and Miller. Yeah.
And Dave Callahan, I don't know if he goes by David Callahan. He's half Chinese. So I can't say you can tell this movie was written by white guys, because one of them was not. But you absolutely can tell that none of them were black. You can absolutely tell that none of them had a Latina mother or a black father. And again, I wish there was a third thing to add to this list. It's really building up to that.
There had not been women in the world.
And they haven't lived life as women or asked women what their experience of being a Spider-Woman was like.
And speaking of Spider-Women, I will say, this is a bit off topic, but what I will say is I have always said to Kat, my fiance, ooh la la. The name's still new.
I thought you were like pausing for an applause.
Yeah. No, I was just like, did I
Like
use
you're
the
doing
right-
a stand-up sitting
Yeah,
next to being
you're
like
like,
fiance, and we have to
the
be like,
easy applause right there. No, that's like the only quality that I can see being attracted to in a person is sense of humor, right? Like I understand, like you could be like
we talked about
physically- you could be like physically attracted, but like that's not gonna last, right? Like you sometimes hear some people be like, oh, but they're just so nice, and I go like, okay, but then what do you talk about? You know, like raise the bar a little bit. But watching this movie, I was like, oh, there's a second one. There's a second thing I can identify with, and it's if you're both spider people. Then I get your relationship. I saw Miles and Gwen. I was like, oh, yeah, no, they have experiences that only they can understand.
So wait, what you're saying is up until this point you hadn't considered that a shared lived experience was something that people could bond over?
Yeah.
Yes, I guess. That is what I'm saying. I don't know, like if you're...
We talked about this in Comedy Bar, and it was very similar conversation of me just going, but like...
No, but
like if you're at a
I meet someone who's also worked retail, and I'm like,
fair,
we're best friends.
No, of course. But I would also say you have to have a sense of humor about having worked retail too. Like here's the thing, because this is my experience. I sit with Kat and we are watching like Love Island, and I'm just constantly making jokes about how bad the coffee is that they made, right? It's like, how could a person possibly make coffee as bad as they did? And we're back and forth at each other. We're laughing. We're having a good time. And I just don't understand if the primary thing is like, well, he was just so nice. What are you talking about then? How nice you are to each other? Just make jokes. I don't know.
Because you're a comedian.
Also, I feel like Love Island is almost a poor example of that because we all know the number one thing they look for is a bit of banter.
Yeah.
I want someone I can have a bit of banter. And I don't know if they pronounce the T. Banter. Bit of banter. How do they say it in Essex? What's the Essex accent for?
I'm not sure.
Bit of banter.
I can't.
Anyway, all I'm saying is if I
banter
was
with a Canadian accent. That's like the number two thing. I think the number one thing is how many
Abs,
Instagram
yeah.
followers they have,
Okay.
and then number two is they want a bit of banter.
All right. Well, I don't know.
It's just
I'm
like
just saying,
whatever
if
you're
I was a
interested
spider
in.
person and there was another spider person, I'd be like, I can see this working out long term.
And if I was a duck, I'd want to fuck another duck. You bet. Absolutely.
I wouldn't because they have those weird corkscrew penises.
That's true. Oh my god.
I would be a duck nun.
Great,
I would be
honestly,
like,
great
"Not
point.
getting in."
Retract. I remove my statement. Get rid of it. Strike it from the record. You are 100% right.
And spider people have tiny prickly hairs all over their bodies. So there you go.
I don't know if either of you watched The Venture Bros.
Yes.
But their version of the Spider-Man, his web comes out of his like a sphincter on his lower back, which is a
I
nice
love
touch.
Venture Bros. Doctor
Scientifically.
Girlfriend. Come on. That's such a great show. Anyway, should we talk about Miguel?
Yes.
Yes.
Obviously, he's a slam dunk. Okay, this guy could not be more right. Of course.
Yeah, no.
He was
completely.
like, okay, I've made this mistake before. I've tried to live outside of what basically the universe and universes have planned for us. I tried to go outside of that. Knocked out a whole world. Just kissed it out of existence, okay, because I didn't know that was going to happen. And now I've learned a lesson, and I'm going to spend my whole time not doing that.
I didn't think of this until now, but it's very funny in a certain way that like him wiping out an entire universe was him not saving Gwen Stacy. like
What do
in
you
the
mean?
comics, like so Gwen Stacy in the universe, in all the universes that Gwen Stacy is in Spider-Man,
Okay.
Spider-Woman, Spider-Man tries to save her and he misses. She falls to her death in all the other Spider-Verses.
Oh yeah, where she's not Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. So, but just that for Miguel, his like, whoops, I missed is like an entire universe. Like, because those are the stakes that he's playing with,
Yes.
right? Like, it's not individuals, it's entire universes of people.
Like, I had to be honest with you. I just don't think, even if I'm like, I'm going to trust my gut, I don't think I'm going to roll the dice on a whole universe
Nope.
for one person.
Nope. And when that scene was unfolding in front of me, before Miles had his reaction to it, genuinely, I was like, oh, okay, so go back to your universe, tell your dad you love him, give him a hug, have the best 2 weeks or 1 week, whatever, that you can possibly have with him.
Yeah.
And then, admit that life is inherently tied to suffering and we have to make sacrifices. But instead, they're like, no. No, you're wrong for even thinking that. Of course he should save his father, you cold-hearted goon.
Well,
Because here's the thing,
you
right?
goon. I love that.
I don't like when a movie tells me I'm a goon.
I meant, there was a scene there was a scene in
my
Across
God,
the
yeah.
Spider-Verse where somebody looks directly into the camera and goes, "You, Isabel Zawtun,
You're wrong.
You're a goon."
You're wrong for feeling like I was like, okay, if it was my dad, I would like get together my life savings. I'd be like,
There we
I'd take him
go.
to his childhood home in Tanzania. We'd have an amazing time.
Yeah.
I would tell him how meaningful he was to me, and then I'd be like, you're gonna die either way, so at least this way a million other people don't also die.
Yeah, and it's a terrible, it's a curse and a blessing to know how long you have with somebody, right? Like it's okay. And here's the thing I don't get though, sort of the dynamics of this, right? So we do know that the sort of Indian Spider-Man, right? When he saves his police chief, Miles saves his police chief, that's what causes the universe to start to fall apart, right?
Yes.
Because if things
They disrupted the canon.
yeah, if things had played out as they were, no one would have been there to save him. Like Spider-Man wouldn't have gotten to him in time. So like if Miles does return to his own universe and attempts to save his father, that to me feels like, well, he's destined to fail as long as some of the other spider people don't intervene. Right? Like the thing that was out of place in the Indian universe was that Miles was there and did something. So if Miles just goes back to his thing, doesn't matter what he does, his father's going to die.
So what you're saying is, even if he was going to be in that universe anyway.
Yeah. So Miles was going to be in his own universe anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, now he's armed with the knowledge that his dad's going to die, and he knows
Yeah.
when his dad's going to die.
Yeah, it's the knowledge that really derails it.
You think it's the knowledge?
Which is why
absolutely.
Miguel was really mad that he was there and he had found out, because for
Yes.
some reason he was like, let's send a teenager to do the most important job.
Right. Okay. So you think the knowledge of it will arm him enough to prevent?
I mean,
Of course, yes.
But the thing
if
is,
you don't know what's happening,
it may or it may not. But that point is moot because Miles' intentions are still bad. So he's still in the wrong. Like there's attempted murder and then there's successful murder, right? Miles is still going into this not caring that his actions are going to cause the deaths of how many people are on Earth?
I think we're
it's
at
like a
9
billion?
billion now.
yeah.
More than a billion.
Yeah, 9
Yeah.
billion.
So he's like, and it almost feels more evil that it's not that he's like, I don't care about these 9 billion people. It's that he's like, they don't even enter my mind. I'm not even thinking about these 9 billion people, which again, you could argue he's 15, but then
Again, it's that question is like you need to decide what scale you're operating on.
yeah.
Yeah. Like you can't be like, I want to be part of the interdimensional Spider-Man crew and also be like, oh, but I need to be low level saving the people I love.
And the premise, like, the villains were saying things that were making sense. So they're like, you're a child. But it was, the tone of it was like, the audience is supposed to dislike that he's saying, oh, you're just a kid.
You are just
So we're supposed to be like, but kids can do it, but he is just a child. Like he's trying to explain, like you'll get it when you're 30 and you've seen your daughter die in a fire explosion, presumably twice, because I think he went to that universe because his family died the first time.
Yes.
So he's right.
No, yeah,
But-
I know it's hard to argue against, like where you're like, this is the stakes of every universe falling apart forever.
Yeah.
And Miles also being the one that created all of these problems because he wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man.
So in which case, then Spot is also right in that he has to destroy Miles because Miles has disrupted everything.
Yes.
Yeah, and you just can't. If everybody's telling you something and you're like, but know my gut, though. Like, that's not, you don't know him like I know him. It's like, don't do this.
We're going back to this theme of problematic relationship.
Yeah.
Your mom is like, don't move in with him. And you're like, but it's love.
But you don't know. You don't know. He plays in a band.
He's gonna make it big.
He's the bassist.
But I mean, this is more existential than this movie necessarily gets into, but like the problem I would have would be like, okay, every spider person in the multiverse is destined to hit these certain plot points regardless of what you do. And then I would just go back to my universe and be like, okay, then why be Spider-Man then? Like why do I have agency in anything I do? You know, or could you let 50 people fall to their deaths or save those 50 people and it doesn't matter, but anyway it's going to lead to, Uncle Ben dying? Is that what's happening? Or is it like only certain things line up, right? Like, do you have agency or do you not?
Well, see, this is the thing where I was so annoyed by the fact that everyone in the movie is so reactive, because if you're Miles and you're basically finding out, like, someone is telling you you don't have free will, essentially, my reaction would be to like curl up into a ball and just hold my head in my hands and take a couple deep breaths and like hyperventilate a little. But instead, he's just like immediately. It was one of those things where it was like, it didn't.
Yeah. How would I
it just emotionally didn't make sense to me. Like I
do kind of get the like, you don't have free will. I'll show you free will.
Oh, yes, I very much have that kind of attitude.
I'll show you the freest will there's ever been.
Yeah.
And then someone's like, we knew you would say that. You're like, no, you didn't.
I feel like my estimation of Miguel, estimation is the wrong word, diagnosis, but he's like lawful good alignment, and he's like a doctor with terrible bedside manner.
Yeah. He doesn't need to be yelling at the kid.
Where it's just like what he's saying is right, but he's being mean about it. Where you're like, well, maybe I won't take my vitamins.
True.
You're like, I don't care that I'm pre-diabetic. I'm gonna keep eating my chips because you're kind of a dick.
Yeah.
But also, the thing you need to remember about Miguel's short temper is canonically, most of these spider people are teenagers, right? Like Peter Parker, bit while he's in high school, becomes like they are all children, with, a few exceptions here and there who are adults or like who are longer, further on in their progression. But I can't imagine being a high school teacher, let alone running a team of teenage Spider-Men. Like,
God.
Yeah,
that's a hell for sure.
They're fucking all over the place too, right? Like on the walls. You're just like, guys, we all have the spider sense. We know what's happening.
That's why when they are running around the spider place, there are no stairwells. No stairwells anywhere.
Why would there? You got other ways to get around.
The building, they're like, no stairwells.
They separate them with a broom. They're like, hey, get out of here.
No corners either.
Absolutely no cool technology. Just like a bunch of ant maids being like, hey, you kids, you stop fucking. You're technically the same person genetically. It doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't matter that one of you has braids. Like, you're still the same person. Get your bits separated.
I think there's some different people in there. I think different spider DNA and different, because there's different. I mean, all the Peter Parkers are the same person for sure, right?
Oh my God.
But Hobby's not the same person as Peter Parker.
Yeah, I wonder what that 23andMe would look like. Like what that would really like line up to.
There's been, oh no, this is too dark. Maybe you'll have to cut this. I was gonna say there's definitely been like a pregnancy scare where they were like, we don't want to know what this thing's gonna look like when it comes, like, so like that thing has Graves' disease for sure.
This fusion.
That Punnett square is a circle.
So fun. Yeah, I literally on the way over here, the Uber I was in, on the radio, they were talking about how a bunch of people are taking these tests now and realizing that they're dating like their third cousin, or they're already married to, or whatever. And it's so crazy to think about.
Well,
Third cousin.
third cousin. We've all
Yeah.
read enough Jane Austen that we're like cool with it. But oftentimes it's siblings. It's
What?
Oh yeah.
because of all the sperm banks where the doctor was like, I don't need to pay for some donors. I'm just going to
Jesus,
into
Murphy.
100 cups. So yeah.
Oh, no, you're not. Oh.
lot of
Third cousin ain't shit. You could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, third cousin means that the great grandfather is third.
I have a
cousin?
chart.
Yeah. I had it figured out.
Shall we look to our documents?
I had it figured out to second cousins because
Because what?
because I went to a cousin's weekend and there were people there who were second
A
cousins.
cousin's weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about it later.
Oh, okay.
Family reunion, basically.
Okay.
Just with the cousins.
It's weird to say after what I just said,
Okay.
though, and I hope you hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I'm going after. There's a chart called
Okay.
the cousin explainer. So you said third cousin.
Yeah, you're so distantly
Third cousin
related.
means that you and the third cousin have the same great grand aunt or uncle.
Yeah, so
Okay.
one above that is your
So you
common
have your
ancestor. Yeah.
parent, and then your grandparent, and then your great grandparent, and your great grandparent had a sibling, and that sibling has a great 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 grandchild.
Yeah, you're not related. You're not related. That's become
that
so
kid
bad.
is not going to have a tail.
I know, but honestly, this sounds crazy, and I'm so sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but like every time I hear something like that, I always just think, I'm like, oh my God, you must love yourself so much. Like, you know what I mean? You see somebody that's loosely related to you, and you're like, yeah, that's a ticket right there. Like looking in a fucking mirror, dude. Love it.
I've only ever dated one person who is the same ethnicity as me, and this is a hard ethnicity to find. Half Indigenous mother, South Asian father, so it was like this guy, and then my siblings.
Yeah, okay.
Are the
yeah.
And I remember when we first saw each other stopping, we passed each other on the sidewalk and both stopped and like turned around. And I remember being like, I understand why white people date each other now.
You're like family, but just a little bit sexier.
Right. But when we're babies and we're learning about, like, our brains are learning what makes a face, and we're learning like what is a human and what is attractive. Our families, what is around us. So like naturally, we do find people who look like us attractive.
That's so interesting.
This is why all the spider center is full of
They're
fucking-
humping.
because
The fucking Olympic Village.
A lot of stained leotard.
Yeah, because they say if you were to meet a clone of yourself, you wouldn't recognize it at first because you're used to seeing a mirror image of yourself, but you would probably think they were super attractive.
Love that for me. Love that for me. Oh, I'm so confident. Look at me. Love that.
I have a thing where like Faye is such a rare last name that like I met somebody like up in Ottawa whose last name was Faye. Like she even had like a tattoo of it and everything. And we were like, oh, we gotta be related, right? Like we got to. And I was like, where's your family from originally? She's like, Southwestern Ontario. I was like, I'm from Southwestern Ontario. We gotta be related. And I think as far as we can figure it, we must be, but there was like some family divide like generations ago where someone was like, we're not talking to those people. And like, then they just went their separate ways. But we're like, there's no way that we have the same last name from the same part of the country. And like, the only other phase I've ever met are relatives of mine. Like it's insane.
Yeah, my family's the only Zawtuns.
Yeah.
But for a long time, I thought that was how it was. I thought if you had the same last name as someone, you were related to them.
Bad news, Smiths.
I mean, my mom's maiden name is Lavoie, which is like the Smith of the French Canadians. So I would meet someone named Lavoie, and I was like, "Oh, Mom, they're like your cousins." And she was like, "No, that's not."
Yeah. All this to say, Miguel is right. You should not fuck with universes just so you can get your spider self off.
He's truly the only character who's acting according to his conscience.
In what way?
And that he's weighing like what is right and what is wrong, and he's following what is right, even though it is very hard.
So even like more of like a intellectual ethics more so than like consciousness, right? Like your conscious is like the devil on your shoulder being like, let your father die. like, like,
Come on, do it.
because I would say they're all acting in what they think is morally right. But I think Miguel, you're right, is the only one who's made that hard intellectual decision of like, no, I got to go against what I feel and do what is like philosophy wise right.
I think, he's the only one. He has the most informed conscience.
Yeah.
He's the one who's given the most thought. I would argue that the other ones aren't acting according to conscience.
No?
Because they're purely they're emotionally driven. Again, like everyone is very reactive.
Yeah.
But even the ones that like are the heroic people, I don't think any of them are acting like they all just seem like they're like, I'm in this because Miles is my friend. I'm in this because like Miguel pisses me off. I'm in this because I don't know. They're all varying degrees of vile to me, except maybe for Hobie. But again, the optics of his relationship with Gwen are very shaky. So
I love his style though, like the way that he looks like he's like paper cutouts and things like that moving through the scenes. I love that.
I can't imagine the amount of work that went into that. I can't.
Oh, I love when they're layering like every style over top of every other style. Like it's just so gorgeous, so cool. Like the colored palettes they're using, the different styles, everything's like so cool to look at.
And it's amazing that you could have so many animation styles in the same scene together, which like inherently have different lighting, different texture, like all those, and they just look like they all work together. Meanwhile, you've got one guy who's like, a newspaper cutout standing next to another guy who's like hard 90s like dot dot, I don't know what you call that when it's the dots, like the comic newspaper color thing, and then like another
the newsprint.
And then like another animation like the original 60s animated Spider-Man standing next to them, and it all looks good. I was like, how does that work? Why doesn't this all look awful?
For a movie that's so like high level of execution visually, like very, very talented artists clearly worked on this. It's staggering how little the plot values visual art. Allow me to elaborate.
Yeah.
We have a character who, from meeting a girl for a week a year ago, is able to create photorealistic portraits of her
Yes.
in his notebook. And at no point does anyone say, we live in the artistic hub of this country. Have you considered art school? His parents are like, oh, we don't know what's going on with him. Also, I'm going to make a bold statement.
Go for it.
Parenting is a pretty clear theme in this movie.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the writers probably has a kid who's like 1 and he sees it after work, and his wife does 100% of the childcare based on what I saw in this movie and the parents in this movie. Let me lay out a scene for you. Your son is a star pupil. He's getting top grades. He's also friends with everyone in his school. Like everyone knows him by name. He's got a really great, solid social circle. He starts a new school where he's not only visually different, racially different from everyone, but he's from the only working class kid.
Yeah.
After he's been there for a year, you go in to talk to his, what's the lady?
Like a guidance counselor. Yeah.
Not only does she make microaggressions towards you right off the bat, but she also dismisses your son, being like, I don't know who he is, and is very clear that he's suffering academically, not showing up for class, and has no friends. What would your knee-jerk reaction be? Would it to be like, Miles, you're grounded? Or would it to be, maybe this is a crappy school and a bad fit for our son?
Yeah.
Oh, you made a lot of great points in a row there. Oh no. Yeah.
But I mean, we know objectively his mom is a shit mom, because even in another universe, he's like a villain and she doesn't have any idea what's going on in his life.
Yeah, true.
So,
That's too bad.
and then
I like.
So there's those parents where they're like, also they choose a family reunion to scream at their kid in front of everyone, which it was just like, that's such a weird choice.
And that I did find weird, because like, he has a problem with being late.
Yeah.
Because he's Spider-Man, but he can't tell them that. But he shows up with a cake.
Yeah.
And the cake is ruined. And that's like I stopped at the store and I got you cake, Dad, for your thing. And it should have been, you're right. That was a very nice thought, Miles.
Yeah,
Thank
been
you
like,
so
you know
much.
what? Like, if that was my kid, and for the record, I have a son who's 14.
Yeah.
And he's perfect. He's turning out great because I'm an amazing mom. But if I had
He's swinging around Toronto tonight being Spider-Man. You have no idea.
I don't know, like, I don't micromanage his life and I don't know everything about him, but like at that age, like I know everything that he's doing because like I guess he talks to me. And if he showed up at a party for his stepdad with a cake that was a little smudged, I would be like, honey, this was so generous of you. Like, you bought this with your own money and you're 15.
Yeah.
You know, I would have been, if he had been bratty, I would have been like, you know what? Just enjoy the party with your family and we'll talk later.
You missed the speech, but you know the Coles notes.
Yeah, like he's your dad. You live in the same apartment as him, I guess, kind of. I don't know what the deal is with the boarding situation, but like just bizarre choices. And then we see another parent who endangers his child by bringing her into situations where the universe might be destroyed.
Oh,
and says,
Peter B. Parker with his little cute little baby. Yeah.
And says the most horrendous line I've ever heard in a movie. He goes to a 15-year-old who's in crisis. In crisis, because he's just found out he doesn't have free will. He's just found out his dad is going to die. And he says the most manipulative line I've ever heard a character say, or maybe a person in the entirety of my life, and I lived with a narcissist. He says, I had my baby because of you. If someone told that to my son, I would shoot them with a gun. Who greenlit that line? I like jaw agape on the floor. I was like, and this is a good guy?
Wow.
Because he inspired him. He was like, oh, there's like...
No, there are different ways you can word that.
Okay, well, how would you have worded it then? Like, you made me believe in life again and not to give up on myself? And
there you go.
Okay.
You had no prep time and you already came up with something better.
Fair enough.
Fucking nailed it.
You can do anything. I got my life back together because I saw what you could do. Yeah, all right, good point. But again, hasn't been sleeping. He's Spider-Man and a dad to a newborn. There's no way that Peter B. Parker is speaking.
To a newborn with the face of a 14-year-old. Again, this movie doesn't know how old children are.
Spider-Man DNA. For sure. Yeah. It is weird. Like a couple weeks ago, we did a movie with like high school students being played by like adults, and you're like, oh no, that's not. Like,
Never Been Kissed.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh, that's not what a 15-year-old doesn't look 20. But that's how they're always presented in media, right? Because they're played by 20-year-olds because 20-year-olds can sign the contract and work the hours and don't have to have school.
Yeah, we've heard the horror stories about what happened on the sets of Skins. We don't need that in our lives. But I will also say, in terms of how they're drawn and how they talk, again, I watched this movie with a 14-year-old son, 11-year-old daughter. And my son was like, yeah, like I know people who look like Miles and they're 14, like 15, whatever. Like that's kind of, but also if you're 15 and you look like that, you're the coolest kid in your school.
Valid, yeah.
You're the kid who like is downing creatine, you know?
Yeah, you're on every team. Yep. Everybody's high-fiving you in the hall. Yeah.
True.
This is very valid. Oh my God. Also, I was just thinking about this. I was such a shit when I was growing up. I feel like any time, like if because I'm late all the time. So like that's something where I'm like, oh yeah, you can't be punishing me for that. I'm just going to be.
I'll never.
Oh no, it's going to be grounded all day. Like, what do you mean? I'm sorry. No, I literally have no concept of time fucking ever.
It means you're an optimist.
But also. Well,
it does. They say that pessimists are always early and optimists are always late.
Oh, I'm always late.
Pessimists are like, there's going to be traffic, there's going to be red lights.
Oh, no, I'm always like, things are going to work out for Rebecca Reeds.
I am very optimistic that I'm going to disrespect your time.
Yes, absolutely. And anytime my parents...
You leave your house and you're like, I forgot that traffic existed. Because my life is perfect.
But listen... I'm sorry, if you're my parents, if other people...
I'm not disparaging you. I'm saying it's delightful.
Yeah, I love it.
You're a delight of a person. That's why you're always late.
Also, like, other people are allowed to be mad at me.
You know who doesn't have to be told they're a delight? Early people, because they're already there.
Oh, yeah, I'm so annoying because I'm not even out of the shower yet, you ass.
It's understood that we're a delight because no one's waiting.
Oh, I disagree. No one's ever arrived early to my home, and I've been like, yay! You're here 15 minutes before everyone else. That's awesome. Also, anybody's allowed to get mad at me for being late, but I will argue that your parents are not. Anytime my parents be, oh, you're late?
Apple
I'm
and
sorry.
tree, you know?
Who raised me, bitches? Because this is on you, assholes. You made this happen.
Okay, but if she showed up at her parents' party doing that, you can yell at her? Right, you can yell at her in front of everyone's family, right? Like, you made me late, fuck you! That's a grounding, right?
Yeah,
That's a grounding. As I'm getting your parental okay on this.
Okay, asterisk, insert here. As someone who was not raised by white parents, I've never understood the grounding punishment that I've seen on TV and in movies. Truly never understood it. It just seems like it's not discipline. It's just the parent being like, I can't handle this. I want to forget you exist for a little while. Just go to your room. That's another thing where I'm like, clearly this is written by two white guys and a half Chinese guy. I don't want to erase his racial identity. He was a half Chinese guy in the 70s, so like he has seen some things. He's had some experiences. But like clearly no, like I'm not saying you have to get stereotypical. I'm not saying she has to like throw her chancla at him in the middle of the family party. But, like that particular family experience of like go to your room, you're grounded is to me like unbelievable because it's like no Latina mother or Black father has ever disciplined their child. And I could be wrong. I might be flooded with comments of people being like, listen, my mom is from Mexico and I was grounded every day of my life. But like, I just, to me, clearly it's a plot device because they're like, he has to be away from the eyes of his parents for X amount of time. But it's just it's very lazy. It makes the parents very unlikable in a way that at the end of the movie, I was like, well, let the dad die,
Oh, now that's a hot take.
Listen, he's a cop. He yelled at his son at a party, then he grounded him, and he forgot he existed.
3 strikes, you're out.
Also, the fact that he's like being super secretive, and then his parents find out he's with like a white blonde girl, and that's just not even a discussion. Again, I'm like, it would be a little bit. It'd be a little bit, right? Where they're like, oh, of course she's fucking blonde. Yeah, of course he's wrecking his life for her. That lily white skin, blue-eyed blonde bitch. I'm just saying.
That is tonally a different movie, but I would watch it. I'd be in. I absolutely, yes.
My parents are mixed, right? And both of them breaking the news to their parents. It was a conversation.
Yeah.
And even for me and my family, like the race of the people that we're with, like, and I mean, again, I'm glad I exist. I'm very pro mixed relationship, but still, like, it's like a conversation. And the fact that it wasn't at all. Also, don't you think? Okay, this is taking a left turn, but maybe it has to do with like the weird family dynamics that didn't feel.
Enough left turns, you get back on track.
But why did the movie make his parents have to be together? Because in the comics, his name is Miles Morales because his mother's name is Morales because his parents are co-parents who are good co-parents who like work together, but he doesn't live with his dad and they're not together.
Oh, I don't know.
And to me, that was another sign of like the kind of white Christianification of Miles Morales, where they were like, oh, we can't show people who are not together, but civil. Divorce has to be fraught.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can't show a loving family with the parents not together.
Oh, I love watching a good co-parent situation media.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love that every time. I'm like, oh, you guys aren't yelling at each other. You're getting along. I love when they get along with each other's partners. And they're like, oh, that's my buddy Dave. Dave's the best.
Ant-Man was actually good for that. Yeah.
That sort of dynamic, I love that. Because I'm like, yeah, why? Why be mad all the time? Wouldn't this be better and funner and happier to all be adults and and also have a more interesting dynamic happening. Have
Especially
something that's not like this classic cookie cutter. Yeah, you're right.
Especially
That's
when
way
you're
more
talking about
interesting.
things like a kid struggling in school and what to do. Like it immediately makes it more interesting because not necessarily they're going to fight, but you're just like either they're not together and they might have different views on this and how are they going to navigate it. And yeah, again, that doesn't contribute to the villain being right or wrong.
Oh no, that's fine. Well, I don't think we stick to that at all times.
We covered the villain.
I'm just trying to reinforce that maybe the villains and heroes weren't written very.
Well, they were.
I'm trying to think of a synonym for well. That's
They were written
more
great
charitable.
for us. The villains made a lot of great points.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to add? Or?
No, I think I'm ready to scale.
Nice.
Scale it up.
I'll start off. I've got the in honor of the spot, or the spot as we call him. I'm gonna give the spotted scale.
Okay.
So on a scale from ladybug to cheetah, I'm going to give the spot a spotted dick, which is a British pudding. I looked it up. Currants and raisins. Because he's a bit of a dick.
Okay.
How about you, Isabel? Do you have a ranking for us?
So the ranking that I had settled on was less wordplay, but more like spider related. It was like how many traumatically dead relatives.
How many Uncle Bens?
How many Uncle Bens? Yes. I mean, Miguel gets 9 billion Uncle Bens.
Okay.
Because he had to live through the, universe collapsing.
Most traumatized,
that's awesome.
the most right. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I've got the things teenagers yell scale from "Get out of my room, Dad" to "Shut the fuck up, Grandma," which would be probably the biggest one. I'm gonna give both of our villains a "Please don't take my door off the hinges." A very reasonable point and something that maybe should be said. And team, before we get to our heroes and villains of the week, as always, there's a couple of ways you can help out the podcast. If you have a couple of bucks, we are on Patreon, and we do 2 bonus episodes a month in which I have been torturing Craig with bad movies, torturing him, and I'm having so much fun because most of the time I just watch the movie now and laugh like a villain in my own house, imagining Craig getting upset at these movies. Last month my pick was The Room, so this month we are covering we're covering Disaster Artist as Craig's pick, his follow-up to my bad movie with a good movie, so you guys can look out for that. As always, we also have audience choice, we have ad-free tiers. You can hit us up on Patreon. And if you would like to follow us...
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter for the time being anyway. VWR Podcast.
You don't have a blue sky? I have an invite code. I can send it to you.
Okay, sweet. I think we're just going to try and figure out where everyone lands and then make the jump once it's established. We're on Twitter at VWR Podcast, Instagram, Villain Was Right, as well as TikTok, The Villain Was Right. So if you want to see clips from the show, you can check that out as well. And if you want to get in touch with us, we do have email, villainwasright@gmail.com, with audience suggestions. If there's a movie you want to do, let us know. Maybe a little brief synopsis to let us know why you think it'd be good for The Villain Was Right, because we haven't seen all the movies. That'd be really helpful. And thank you so much for telling your friends and everybody about it. You guys are great. You're so supportive. And now it is time for our heroes and villains of the week. I'll go first. I've got a villain this week.
Hey.
In the theme of family and everything like that. My villain is my younger sister.
Oh!
Yes, because this past weekend or so, we did, as I was mentioning, the cousins weekend, sort of a family reunion with all the cousins from my mom's side. We get together at a cottage, and it was we sort of had been doing it for many, many years, and like it was always like a rager, you know what I mean? Because like, we would all stay over and like, you know, in tents and all the rest, and like drink until noon. This is obviously the first time that we've done it since the pandemic, so a few things have changed in terms of the family dynamic, where many cousins have young children, you know, born during the pandemic, so like under 2 years old, sort of
Can I just
thing.
ask how many cousins we
Oh
have?
yeah, so we're talking. So me and my siblings included, there are 11 cousins. with partners. So that's up to like 22, 23.
I have a Catholic family. I have 51st cousins, not including partners.
51st cousins?
51st cousins.
Wow.
Might be more. I think people that might have had babies, but
that is,
whenever people say like my cousins, I need to know the number because my imagination runs wild.
Okay, so with like partners.
How did you fit 50 people in a car?
I haven't done the math, but I might be getting some pretty high numbers myself, actually, now that I'm...
Fair enough. And I always thought I was big, but there we go.
Sorry.
So, like, we were up around like 33 people, but like we could not actually keep track because people move around and you're like, did I count you already? Anyway, so as I was saying, it used to be like a bit of a rager, right? But like because there's so many people, other people were staying other places and driving and like leaving early, and people with newborns are like calling it quits at like 9. So like I'm up and ready to go, and a couple of us are like, all right, let's play like some cards or whatever. And one of the other cousins like texts back, having left a while. I was like, "Oh, is the party still going? Like who's still up?" And they're like, "Oh yeah. Some people are just starting a game now." This is my sister on the chat, and he goes, "Oh, so who's up?" And my sister takes a picture of us sitting at the table, and sends it to the group chat. So all the cousins, and she goes, "Oh, it's all the young, energetic ones and Craig." I was like, all right, that's a pretty good burn. That's pretty good. I like that. So for that nice burn, she's my villain of the
That's
week.
awesome.
Yeah. How about you as well? Do you got hero or villain? Both?
Okay, so I've got both.
We love a both.
And then as I tell this story, it's going to unfurl which is which. All right, so
yes.
this story took place on the Toronto Island, the city's park. Mm-hmm. And this happened to my husband who works there. He's one of the maintenance guys on the island. So he's driving along, and he's approached by a loud, boisterous group of several young, hot teen girls.
Hey.
And they're calling him over, and they've cornered a frail old Ukrainian refugee man who does not speak very good English.
Oh, damn.
And they're like yelling at him and berating him. And they're doing this because they had spotted said old man taking pictures of the youngest one in their group, who was around 15, 14.
Oh,
and the person who noticed was the 15, 14-year-old's older sister, who was like, "Why are you taking pictures of my sister?" So they cornered her. They cornered the old man. They wouldn't let him leave. We understand that optically at first, it seemed like maybe it was going to be the other way around.
Yeah.
So they cornered this man, wouldn't let him leave, and he refused to show them the phone. He refused to delete the pictures. They just kept saying, like, "Let us see you delete the pictures from your phone that you took of, our sister/friend who is a minor." He was refusing to do so. So they got security involved, and he was forced to show his phone. And it turned out that not only had he been taking upskirt photos of this young girl, he had been spending his entire day taking upskirt / down the shirt / just creepy photos of many, many women and young girls on the island. And he was let off the island in handcuffs.
Oh my God. Those girls are brave. Yeah. Good for them. Damn.
Yeah.
That's a real hero villain story if I've ever heard. Hot damn.
Heroes triumph, villain is vanquished.
Yeah, that's some hard lines. Not a lot of stories are really black and white, but like.
I mean, this one started out seeming like there were going to be some shades of gray.
Nope. Hard turn. Hard turnaround. Fuck, dude.
It went from okay, let's hear both sides here to no, we don't need to hear that side.
We're good.
Jail, straight to jail.
Which marginalized group are we aligning?
Good Lord. Wow. Well, good. Yeah. Oh, God. I'm shaking to my core.
He'd just been doing that all day.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Oh, my God. Unfucking believable. Mm-hmm. Okay, so mine's a little lighter. I had a little bit of a lighter story. So first of all, mine's a hero villain story. Number one, hero. My brother and his partner just had their first baby. And he reads has come in to full effect. Okay, it is a role I was born to play. Okay, look at me and tell me I don't have energy. I'll fight you. Absolutely not. Born to be an ant. So excited. Now, the villainous part of this is I would like to describe what is my villain origin story. Okay, because I am so excited that my brother has had a child, because my brother, and I love him so much, and we get along so well now, but was a tiny little asshole growing up. He was noisy, he would bother me, he would bug me, and you best fucking believe I'm gonna load this kid up with everything on the planet. Noisemakers, candy, sugar. How do we make you into a tiny little sound terrorist? Okay, and I'm just going to unleash you into the home. And I'm so sorry that the woman he is with is going to be caught in the crossfires of this. And I do apologize, but it's time and we're due. Okay, and that is my villain origin story. And I am so excited.
This is revenge 30 years in the making.
Oh, you have my brother has no idea. He has no idea what's coming for him. I am going to spend so much money on making this kid so loud.
We're talking miniature drum set.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
The mini xylophone, the mini piano.
Oh, little musician. I just want him to be a little.
Just frame it as like I'm nurturing his talent.
Oh.
Just a whole bunch of AA batteries.
Yes.
So those
Just maracas
never die.
nonstop.
Yes.
Just a font of
And I'm
maracas.
just going to be like, oh, but education for the child's education, please.
Music helps him with math.
Yes. Anyway, I'm just very excited for that. So I'm a bit of a bad person, but that is fine. It's fun.
And you can get those horrible CDs that are like, let's do multiplication. 1 times 1 is 1.
I think you're going to
And
be
they
a
go
great
through-
consultant on this, actually. I think you have a lot of knowledge that you can weaponize.
I discovered recently that I think the primary reason that I like Bluey so much is that it's one of the only kids shows where no one at any point talks in a voice like, where's the tractor?
Let's
find the tractor. And I was like, this is why parents love this.
Can we say that
Somebody has recommended Bluey to us.
for our podcast and called them what? A cul-de-sac menace. No, I'm sorry. That line did make me laugh
Yeah,
very
it's
hard.
very funny.
Whoever sent that in, that's a very funny way of saying that.
We love it. We'll try.
Whoever sent that in is the person who's putting up the like no ball hockey playing signs along the street. They're outing themselves as a villain now.
That's so funny.
They're just like, my ethnic neighbors are having a barbecue. Please.
I
Or a
smell
Barbie, as they call it.
No.
Oh my god. Yeah. Anyway, well, that is it for us on The Villain Was Right. As always, you can follow me at Rebecca Reads on any platform of your choosing. Isabel, what would you like to promote?
My big thing was Twitter, and now that's gone.
Yeah.
But you can follow me on Instagram at Isabel Zawtun. That's at AWTUN.
Yeah, hell yeah. Got a lot of great comics.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of great comics.
Very talented
You're a
artist as well.
very talented artist.
Oh, for my art Instagram, that's Isabel ZT. That's IS.
There we go. All right.
Check them out both.
Yes.
Funny and great art. And you can follow me at Craig Fay Comedy on Facebook, Twitter, Craig Fay Comedy on TikTok and Instagram as well. CraigFay.com for show dates. And that does it for us this week on the podcast. Stay tuned. Next week, we've got Bullet Train coming up. That's going to be a fun one. Chock full of villains. Just chock full of villains.
Train slander as well.
Yeah, we love it. And until next time, this is A Villain Was Right, reminding you not to kick your own ass into yourself.